Thank you, everyone, for coming. I especially want to thank our panelists who've taken the time to spend to tell their stories, and each one is interesting, and each one is different. And I think that that's a common theme that we're going to be seeing over the next few meetings is how different being an independent hygienist is for everyone. This is being sponsored by Teledenics, and which is the software platform that's the virtual dental care has created. But it's also not a software commercial. This is software is in fact part of the independent hygienist journey, and so we'll cover it. But it's not. It's the broad journey that we want to cover. Anything that has to do with software will be adjacent. But some context to the company is kind of important to bring us up to how this series got started. When people hear teledentistry, unfortunately, nowadays they think of FaceTime or one of its equivalents. It's so much more than that, but nonetheless, that's what they think of. And so when somebody sees teledentistry and independent hygienists, it's like, well, how do they fit? What's FaceTime got to do with an independent hygienist? Well, FaceTime doesn't have much to do with an independent hygienist, but it does have a lot to do with the evolution of the software that we created. So the software itself was created initially to support Dr. Paul Glassman, virtual dental home that many of you are probably familiar with, which is the model of a hygienist, or depending on the dental practice act of your state, it might be a combination of hygienists and dentists. However, going out to remote locations, doing what that group of individuals, or maybe an individual hygienist, can do legally, gathering diagnostic records typically and sharing those with a dentist who will review them asynchronously or after the fact. So that was the model. We wanted to do that because we saw the opportunity to take this model and deal with the underserved. And that's really the founding principle of our company. So again, what's that got to do with teledentistry, got to do with an independent hygienist? Well, it turns out it was a mobile software. And we learned early on, we learned a couple of things early on. One was that there was no good software to support this model. I could talk for way too long about why that is, but there just wasn't. Trying to modify somehow bricks and mortar dental office software just wasn't working. It's inefficient, often had to be supplemented with other software programs, expensive. It really wasn't going to meet the needs of this particular delivery system. And so we started from scratch. We've had a history of developing software. And came up with Teledenics. Well, so it is a teledentistry mobile software solution, but you can take the word teledentistry out because it's also a mobile software solution. And so that's how we ended up here today. As soon as independent hygienists started hearing about the fact that we were a pretty good inexpensive solution out in the marketplace, we were getting calls and realized early on too that we were often the first step in their journey. They wanted to know more about how do you become an independent hygienist, and asking questions that we could try to answer, but the reality was we weren't in a position to answer it. So we got the idea that maybe if we brought people together who were actually doing it, that would be a much better way to begin this discussion. And there really is no good checklist. There's nothing out there that you can buy a manual that says, here's how you become an independent hygienist, and every journey is individual. As we've seen, I think we're at a stage in the industry where this is really learning by storytelling. So that's again, we just thought let's get people together that can tell their stories, and that will maybe get us to a point somewhere down the road where there is a manual that you can go and look at and click off the here's what I've got to do next kind of things. But so at any rate, it's sort of enough of the introduction. I really want to spend more time of listening than talking. So I'm going to, let's start by having the hygienists who are on our panel. Again, just wonderful. And thank you for making the time to do it. And the stories are going to be so interesting. We'll let you introduce yourself and briefly describe the business model. And as I said, you probably will find that they're not the same. Our panelists are Felicia Williams, You know, I'm going to forget last names if I don't get my piece of paper in front of me. We've got Jolene Caraveau, Joan Fitzgerald, and Kathy Grinham. And I think we have their pictures up, and I think they're you can see them through on the video also. I'm going to turn my video off because I don't want to put any more bandwidth on my computer than I need to. And again, we'll start by asking just introduce yourself, please. We'll start with Felicia, go to Jolene, follow with Joan, and then Kathy. Again, just a couple of minutes talking about who you are and what your business model is. So Felicia.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Felicia Williams. I've been a dental hygienist here in Atlanta, Georgia for about 7 years now. And I was a dental assistant for many, many years prior to becoming a dental hygienist. The name of my mobile organization is called Global Foundation for Dental Health Care and Awareness. We provide free dental care to underserved communities. And our main goal is to provide the care to anyone that does not have access to dental care. We provide free cleanings, extractions, or cancer screenings. Everything is just free of charge. And most importantly, we provide the oral hygiene education. We host one free dental event here in Atlanta, Georgia once a month. And once a year, we go to Africa and we host a free dental event there. And they are super, super excited when we come over there because they don't get the opportunity to have any type of dental care. And our organization is run strictly by volunteers. We have about 35 volunteers at each event. And we have about 1 dentist, 8 to 10 hygienists, about 5 or 6 dental assistants, pre-dental students, pre-dental hygiene students, and we give the community an opportunity to come serve when we work in their community. So we have about 8 to 10 community volunteers, and we just get out there and we provide our free service. And our biggest challenge is finding dentists. I mean, we have a lot of dental hygienists, but the biggest challenge that we've run across thus far is just trying to find dentists to come out and serve.
Well, thanks. Africa, how fascinating. That alone could probably be an hour's worth of stories, I'm sure, if
yes.
not more. So thanks. Jolene.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone that's listening in on our webinar today. So my name is Jolene Caraveau, and I'm a dental hygienist in Florida. I moved to Florida 15 years ago, and I loved community dental health when I was a student at NWTC in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I did a lot of volunteering, wrote some grants, started up a school-based sealant program, worked with mobile equipment, and then I moved to Florida. And I thought I would continue to volunteer and, do some work in the schools. And all of a sudden I realized that everything was going to be volunteer, and even some of the volunteer opportunities were difficult to come by. So I dedicated 1 day a week to volunteer, whether it be with children or with seniors. And then I got very involved in the Hygiene Association with the Florida Dental Hygienists Association, and we were able to pass in 2011 access to care. So it really opened up a lot of paid opportunities for dental hygienists to outreach to children in the schools and Head Start, and it was awesome, and I loved it. And let's say 7 years ago, an opportunity came my way, and it was senior dentistry. And I thought, oh my gosh, senior dentistry, that's probably really tough. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't do it. It might be, I've never focused completely on the seniors. I volunteered once a month at a senior center, and I really liked it, but I didn't know would I like it every day. And I decided to give it a try. One of my brothers said, the kids need it and the seniors need it, but the seniors really appreciate it. And it was true. I did it for probably 3 weeks, fell in love with it, and stayed on with a company that I worked with for about 5 years. I also worked as an independent professional educator, and then COVID happened to everyone. And I was doing a little bit of research and saw that Florida had just passed teledentistry, which really sparked my interest because it meant for me the first time in a practice that we could fiscally make a business model with a dental hygienist make sense. And I had a dentist in mind, and I wasn't sure if he would be interested in the opportunity, but I contacted him right before COVID had shut everyone down. And he said, you know what, I'm really interested. Let's meet and talk about it more. So we did, we talked more, and then, we were deterred by COVID, but it gave me a good opportunity of time to partner with the Small Business Administration and write a business plan. And fortunately, there was plenty of time to work on that, and the dentist has been very patient and stayed with it. And we started rolling out in December, and the name of our business out of the Tampa Bay area in Florida is called Home Dental to You. And the thought behind it is that we know that some people are homebound and bedridden, and they just can't get out for care anymore. And so many more people just have anxiety about going into a dental office, so they don't seek care. And we know what the statistics are, that for every dollar that we spend, we can save from $35 to $50 on restorative dentistry, and a little more than 60% of the people go in for dental visits every year. So there's still a lot of people that don't go. So we go to your home, we bring our little dental office to your home, to your business, or to a facility. And we have 3 assisted living facilities that we're now partnering with, and things are beginning to roll, and it's exciting, and we love it. And without Teledentics, I don't think I would be here today. They are just so amazing and supportive, and they really are just working so hard behind the scenes to develop a software model that really supports mobile dentistry, and they are fantastic to work with, everyone in the company, and I am thrilled to be working with them and sharing my story with you here today.
Just when I said it wasn't going to be a commercial, but thank you for that. But I love that quote, though. Seniors appreciate it. I think I'll use that. I'll give you credit for it, though, too. So.
You can credit my brother.
Okay. Joan, we'll let you go next. You might be on mute, Joan. I'm not sure.
I am on mute. Thank you. Thank you, Bill, and thank you everyone for being with us today. My name is Joan Fitzgerald, as you know, and first of all, I want to just say that dental hygiene was a career for me. It was never a job. And so being said, my career path and my leadership journey has brought me to this time and place. And it begins with, I think, being curious. And my parents were entrepreneurs. So I would ask these questions all the time. Well, why can't a dental hygienist provide services directly? So that became kind of a personal theme of mine. I'm a bit of a change agent. And so my journey brought me through an experience working in long-term care. Back in the 90s, I worked at the Department of Veterans Affairs. So I worked in a long-term care setting, and I got a lot of great knowledge there. And then I became interested in a lot of sort of large scale, looking at things on a large scale. It brought me to my leadership journey with the American Dental Hygienists Association. I served on the board of directors. So it's really interesting to have a local idea of things and then a state idea. But then when you get to the national level, you can really see things moving. And so that was a great opportunity for me. And so I decided to go back and complete my degree, and I did it in entrepreneurship and management. And I created a capstone project, and I put all of these things together. That happened back in 2012. And so in 2014, I was able to open the agency, Oral Health Care at Home. Interesting, I started it out as dental hygiene at home, but then having the knowledge I knew, oh, oral hygiene is how we're going to actually integrate with medicine, an oral medicine piece. And so I put the geriatrics, the oral medicine, oral health, and where dental hygienists can fit in that particular area. And so I started kind of with the end in mind, but I'm building locally and thinking globally. So I really am looking at integrating skilled dental hygiene, skilled dentistry into the home health care arena. And so that's how I built it. But it's interesting how it all comes about, and we'll answer some of those questions later as we speak. But I think that there's, to be an early adopter, there's high risk, but there's also a high reward. And the reward is what happens when you actually can serve a population that doesn't have any care, like the elder care, disabled and elders. When they have access to care, things begin to change, and these are great things. It's interesting that Bill spoke about some of the other electronic dental records being very brick and mortar practice centric, and they are. I started out looking at a cloud-based platform because I knew I would be in multiple facilities and multiple homes. And so then the thing that attracted me to teledentics was the foundation with Paul Glassman and the work that I have done there. So I don't mean to turn it into a marketing piece, but it really is true. When you think big, you have to start small and know that
don't post anything because the people that I work with are going to see that I went out and they're going to think I'm okay. They're not going to see.
And I do believe that we need to look at electronic dental records, electronic health records, a lot of interprofessional care and interoperability. And these are really wonderful things that this company is thinking of, and that I will have to as we grow as well. But right now we work with about 5 different assisted living facilities and people in their homes that cannot get out. So it's really has a homebound foundation with it. And that's great. I'm really I'm grateful to be with all of you.
Well, thanks, Joan. And you're right. Risk and reward is, it isn't always monetary reward, although it's nice when they all fit, but it's, the reality of what rewards you want is an important thing to understand as anybody gets into any entrepreneurial activity. So we'll finish up at least this question with Kathy. And Kathy has taken the notion of an entrepreneurial hygienist to another level. She actually invented a mobile panoramic X-ray machine. So I'll let her obviously talk about that, but it is pretty fascinating, this whole entrepreneurial spirit that we're all feeling right now. So Kathy, please.
So, never did I ever think that this was the projection of my life and where I was going. I just wanted to work close to home and part-time to be with my kids. I didn't graduate hygiene school until I was 40 years old, which was the only time in my life I had the opportunity to go and get an education, a formal education. And I think that's kind of the theme of what I am and what I do is always looking at life as, well, isn't this interesting? Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
And
Yeah, just definitely
trying to take courses in my profession that, I don't want to take another sharpening course. Doesn't interest me, but trying to learn new things. And that's really where I started, was with my local Dental Hygiene Association, and they were offering this course on public health dental hygiene, and the Dental Hygiene Association of Massachusetts worked really, really hard in 2009 to change the law and the governor at the time accepted that change, but now they needed people to kind of
Right.
be the first. So part of that is taking a course, and so I took the course and wanted to learn more. And some part of that course is you had to do a 6-hour observation with a hygienist, and this one happened to be working for the Department of Public Health. And I did the 6-hour observation, and I said, "Oh, that's me. This is me. I've arrived at me." So, and from there, I tried to get some accounts as, you know, just my name as a dental hygienist, and realized that it wasn't going to work unless I labeled myself or I promoted myself as a business. And again, learning so much all the way through, learning from mistakes as well as successes, and started the Visiting Dental Associates of Massachusetts because I wanted to work with dentists as well as hygienists. And I had learned so much that I wanted to help other hygienists succeed in promoting dental hygiene, working for themselves, and started the Visiting Dental Associates of Massachusetts so that we could work together independently as a team or independently collaboratively. And so that's what we've done. And we're in nursing homes. I have 2 school systems. We went into nursing homes because the school kids tend to get a lot of support through different things in Massachusetts. So, but the elder care, not so much. And I had a dentist come and say, "Listen, I have 10 nursing homes, but I don't know what to do with them." And I said, "Well, I'll take care of the hygiene part of it with a team, and you take care of the other part." And we work really well together using internet-based software. And I'm soon to be a Teledentix family member and looking forward to that. And we're able to, you know, provide services in nursing home settings, as well as I do council on agings. We've done group settings such as low-income housing project, apartment, temporary housing places, amongst other places. So it's been really great. We have a contract with a Medicare type based insurance company to see about 3,000 of their homebound patients. So you just don't know what's around the next corner. And I think if you keep an open mind and you're curious and you talk to people, and there's no better way to connect with people now than there ever has been before. I highly recommend that you join the Mobile Teledentistry or iHeart Mobile Dentistry group on Facebook. It's a very welcoming group. You can ask questions. It's a great network. And just keep saying, "Oh, that's interesting. Let's look for more information." You don't know where it's going to lead you. I invented a machine. Who knew that was going to happen?
Well, thank you. You know, so you're all entrepreneurs, and the entrepreneurial spirit always intrigues me. You know, where does it come from? What makes somebody want to be an entrepreneur? And so I ask all the time, and one of the, you know, the answers are varied. But there's always something that turned a thought into action. And so really, you know, and for the sake of time, this could be a really long answer, but I'll ask you to keep it relatively close. Was there any one moment, did you always know it from a childhood that you were going to do it? Or was there a single moment that you, all of a sudden the light bulb went on and you go, "Yes, I'm going to do this"? And obviously tons of steps, but I'm really interested in that one moment. So let's just follow the same order. Felicia, was there a light bulb moment for you?
Absolutely. In 2017, right after I had hosted a free dental event, I had this young lady to walk up to me. She had gotten 6 teeth extracted from our organization, and I honestly was not aware of what's going on, because when I'm having my event, I'm all over the place. So she walked up to me and she was in tears, and she asked if she can hug me. And I said, "Oh, sure." You know, I didn't think anything of it. And she hugged me and she held me and she held me so tight. I was saying, Jesus, is she going to let me go? Well, finally she let me go, and she just thanked me so much, because she later began to tell me that she had gone to several different free dental events, but she can never make it in the chair. The event always closed before she can get the service. So, you know, I was crying with her, you know, thanking her for even coming. And that evening when I got home, I told my husband, this is it. There's so many people out there that need my service. We have to do something. And I cried and I prayed, I cried and I prayed, and I said, that's it. I'm not going back into the dental office. I'm going to give these people what they need. And my husband told me, he said, well, you can't save the world. I said, well, I'm going to die trying. And 2017, I've been doing this free dentistry, and I have not been back into the dental office. And that was my light bulb moment.
What a wonderful story.
Yes.
Jolene, what about you? We might be on mute again.
Sorry about that. Yes, I'm on mute. For me, it was back when I was a dental hygiene student. I had an aunt, my namesake, Josephine, and she ended up in a nursing home, and she quickly, her oral health was really declining, and they had a dedicated dentist for the nursing home. And I was thinking, well, you know, I will be able to help her once I get licensed. Then I can go in and I can clean her teeth and I can provide fluoride treatments, and all to find out as I was studying for laws, rules, and ethics, this was not going to be possible in my state. And I was really sad about that. And after that, I worked with the director of the nursing home, and I put together a CE course for all the CNAs on oral care, and I had a lot of sponsors, so I got free spin brushes for all the residents and toothpaste, and you know, I was really excited about it. And it's a quite large nursing home, and the day happens and only one CNA showed up, and I was so disappointed. And the director was like, don't worry, it's mandatory. They're all going to have to listen. And I had freebies and getaways for everybody to attend. But I just thought, somehow I have to figure this out, because my aunt's oral health is declining, and she's really prideful because she's done such a great job. She's now 95 years old, and she's done a great job taking care of her teeth, but you know, she can't do it all herself. She needs help. And that was the, like, kind of a defining moment that someday I was going to find an answer. And then when I became involved in our state Florida Dental Hygienist Association, a lot of things began to change, and it was positive. And my parents were down visiting from Wisconsin, and they both were teachers originally and became entrepreneurs themselves. So I guess that's a good role model for me. And I was frustrated about something, and my dad's like, well, just open up your own business. You're just meant to do it. And I was like, I can't do it. And I still remember now that really is a defining moment. I think ever since then, that seed was really planted that I can do it. And someday the opportunity is going to be right. And it is now.
So at some point, you just get confidence enough to say, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to succeed at doing it. So
confidence or frustrated enough?
Yeah. Well, that's a very good point. Joan, what about, did you have a moment, or did you just know from birth that you were going to do this?
It's interesting. I definitely got frustrated enough. I have a long career in dental hygiene, and mostly early part of my career in private practice. And I ran up against walls in terms of trying to, you know, generate all the things that are happening right now weren't happening back in the past. And so I would get into some challenges trying to do things like employment contracts and you know, looking at advancing within the practice itself. Gave a lot of energy to developing practices, but there you are always a wage earner. And so it was back in 1993 that I got really frustrated with private practice. And so that's when I kind of broke out. I was a mom, and we raised 3 daughters. And so, it was just time for me to spread my wings, as they say. And that's when I changed and went to work in the hospital setting part-time. And then I also worked and started my own marketing. I had a distributorship with a marketing company. And so I learned a lot about sales and marketing through them. And I kind of spread my wings and learned about leadership and those types of things. So it was definitely a level of frustration that spurred me on. And then it was really taking your knowledge that you have in your career and your curiosity and putting them all together that helped me to create this. But I did have the kind of support. I think we were talking earlier that, independent hygiene is not for everyone. But I think you have to have enough of a drive. Something has to be a driver, and it was, but you also need to couple it with a vision, because you're really not there yet. So if you have a strong vision in the world of business, they call it business planning, but really a personal vision and what you want to achieve. I think being driven by a vision, and also by this drive, this internal drive. And is frustration the first part of the driver? Sometimes, and it was for me. But I would say that, as I said before, my parents were entrepreneurs, and it was something that I was just comfortable with that part. And my husband was just completely supportive, my family as well. My mom has been my chief investor, sharing part of her Social Security check with me. She's really, supportive, and my husband has been, incredibly supportive of me to do this. You start, it depends on how you start out, some can start out with a silver spoon. This doesn't happen. So I think it's just having that internal drive.
And that's a great segue. We're going to finish up with Kathy here, but for the sake of time, I think I want to set the table that we'll start the next series around just that question. How did you start? And financially, how difficult was it? How was the transition? Was it slow? I worked in a dental office part-time and so forth. So I do want to set the table that's where we'll start the next webinar. But this is really a fascinating question to me. So Kathy, your aha moment?
Again, I think it's about, I guess, not being satisfied. Different things work in your life at different times, and then they don't work anymore. And that's okay, because that's growth and that's change. And I think you need to self-reflect and realize, like, okay, well, this isn't what I need in my life or want in my life anymore, and don't be afraid to grow. Now, having said that, I did part-time for 10 years before I decided that I wasn't going to do that anymore. In those 10 years, I worked in private practices, several private practices, one private practice. Then I went to the university setting for 8 years, which was phenomenal. I mean, but I wasn't afraid to change. Was it easy to change it all the time? No, it wasn't easy. But I think internally, instead of getting miserable and frustrated, you might say to yourself, maybe it's time to change your outlook. If it's working for you the way it is, and that's fantastic, because you know what, I tend to go about 5 to 8 years and then go, okay, well, this doesn't fit where I'm at in my life right now, and kind of washing away some of that fear a little bit. And that's why I started the Visiting Dental Associates of Massachusetts, was to help support other hygienists in maybe talking them through it and supporting the background office part of it to say, so it's not such an enormous leap and that you can do it part-time.
Yeah, this is so fascinating. So as I say, let's set the table for the next. I do want to give some time if there are questions to answer the questions and not keep people over too long here. So again, where we'll start next time is really what were the first steps? Where does one start? Very often the second question is how do I buy equipment? I don't think that's the appropriate next question, but we'll see, and it's worth talking about. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the practicalities of what you have to live through to get started. And again, maybe it's slow, maybe it's fast, maybe you throw it all in, maybe you say I'm only going to work part-time for a certain amount of time. So all of those I think will be very interesting, and that's where we'll get started next time. So, and the last webinar, just to restate what I said before, will really be, let's focus in on what are the challenges, how do you find them, how do you solve them, and because I think that's going to be common to just about everybody. So Daniel, at this point, if there are any questions that anybody had, I'm sure the panelists, or if I can help, I would. We can jump in and begin answering some questions.
Awesome. Well, first of all, the support is overwhelming. So getting a lot of great feedback and messages, just saying, dental hygiene power. So that's always great. Not necessarily a question, but great feedback. A question we got here is, what were your biggest roadblocks, financial, legal, and finding support from dentists? So I know some of this we'll be covering in the future, but it's a specific question that we got today. So biggest roadblocks from a financial standpoint, legal, and then finding support from other dentists.
For the sake of time, I'm sure, and we will cover this in subsequent webinars, but maybe just, I'll just randomly pick you, Jolene, and say, what would your answer to that question be? Your biggest roadblock and what you had to do to overcome it?
Financial is definitely a roadblock. I mean, I decided to dip into my retirement. And even though it wasn't exactly where it probably should be anyway, I just decided that it was the right time and I wanted to invest in myself and the idea that I had, and it felt right. And I do a lot of collaborative work with dental hygienists and networking about finding a dentist, and through a lot of networking was able to find someone that really was a good fit, supportive, and open-minded. And I think all the things kind of lined up at the same time, which gave me my own personal green light, like this is the right time. And even though the leap itself is really scary, I'm working 2 part-time jobs on top of starting the business, and I was doing some temp work over the summer as COVID had opened up. But it's financially it's scary and it's a big responsibility, but I'm excited and things are starting to move and it is great. And I feel like teledentistry is just really helping make this happen, along with having a great software that it fits into the business model with mobile dentistry that I was looking for.
Great. Anything else, Daniel?
Yeah, we got a few more, so I'll go on to the next one. So this one is about doing mobile dental services for free. So when you're servicing patients at no cost, what are your biggest sources of funding? And if you are going out to seek funding, do you have to hire a grant writer? How do you even initiate that step?
Well, I know it's a challenge for you, Felicia. I don't know if you want to answer that question or at least give your insights to it.
Yes, I can answer that question. Well, we have gotten a few small community grants, and if you reach out to the dental companies, all the dental companies, they will support you with in-kind donations. All of them, they're very supportive.
Great.
So we got another one in here about owning your own practice. And so overall, Bill, I'll give you a chance to respond to. We get questions all the time of what does my state allow? What are some pointers for my specific state? Do you want to just address that real quick?
Yeah, I mean, real quickly, and in fact, I'm going to be restating what Jolene had mentioned earlier before before it got started, and that's things change so rapidly that it's hard to give advice as to what's anything legal about what's going on in your state and your own practice act. So this is something that you're going to have to investigate, and probably investigate with professional help. That's really sort of the first step. What was the second part of the question, Jenny?
Just what are the resources you can go to figure out
Sure.
what the regulations are?
Well, there's, certainly you can look stuff up online. I never recommend that anybody take anything online at face value, but I know the Dental Hygiene Association has some pretty good materials on a state-by-state basis, and your own Dental Practice Act is going to be online. And so, there are places that you can go, but I sort of strongly recommend that if you're going to invest the kind of effort and money that you're going to put in, that you try to find help elsewhere, not just your own resources. Maybe go to a lawyer or go to your local hygiene association and ask for the resources that they might give you.
Bill, this is Joan. I would echo that. When I started, I worked with lawyers, a legal group, and they were the ones that poured over the Practice Act compared to what the business plan was, and making sure that happened. But I'm also going to say that you need to be your own best advocate. And that may be to get involved in your legislative affairs committee, work with your state professional association on these things. If there are barriers right now, barriers are being busted every day. And so I would say, make sure that number one, you find out and that you partner with others. I do a lot of networking as well with other healthcare and other type of agencies and work outside of dentistry. And so I think that those are things to look at as well.
That's very insightful. Daniel, maybe we can finish up with one more.
Yeah, here's another one here. And it's about the states where an RDH is actually allowed to own their own practice. So if you are the legal owner of the business, the question here is, how's that business model set up? Are you an owner of the equipment? It's just an issue that they're having a problem understanding, is how do you even set up that business entity in those states that do allow an RDH to own their own business?
Yeah, and again, these are legal questions, and I don't want to play lawyer, but certainly, you begin with the business plan, as I think Jolene mentioned, and there are different types of corporations that you can set up. If the state is one where a professional corporation, a PC, and I know that that's doable for a hygienist in California, how that gets set up and what the legal documents are, you really do need to talk to somebody.
Excuse me, if you don't mind, I'll just kind of chime in here. I should have said this before, that through the Small Business Administration in every one state, they have programs, and they're called SCORE, SCORE. And I didn't realize that they had these, but they have free professional business mentors that are within a corporation, and they assist you in writing a business plan. They also assist you in finding free legal advice. So that was really helpful, and I had no idea that they even existed. It was through my web designer that had used them for their business, and they gave me that great piece of advice. So I'd like to share that with anyone that's on the call and meeting today, that is out there for you through your own Small Business Administration, and they are free. So that's awesome.
That's great advice.
I'd also like to kind of point out that sometimes we take that word practice differently. In my state, hygienists are not allowed to own a brick and mortar building and provide hygiene services. We have to be mobile or portable. In other states, you can have a brick and mortar. So that word practice is not traditional in that you're owning a dental practice that is at a location, at an address, but you still own a practice. Does that make sense?
It does, and the complexities obviously vary by state, and that does make it again, going back to the attorney, if you can find it free, that's great. I would advise don't try LegalZoom, which I've seen people try before. It's the worst way to set up a corporation possible. But anyway, they probably would disagree with that. So I think that we should probably end it here today. If anybody's got an attention span like mine, 45 minutes is about as far as it goes. So I really appreciate the people that listened in, as well as, again, just so many thanks to the panelists here. This information is great. The stories are great. We could talk for hours, but I think we'll stop it at this point.